Hey everyone, welcome back to the American Justice Podcast. I am your co-host, Mr. C. Derick Miller, and with me as always is...
Scott Pogency.
And we are so glad you guys are here. We got a great show for you today.
Do we ever?
What did you guys think about the episode? Susan Constantine, she's something, isn't she?
Oh man, and I don't know if I think I explained this in the episode, but we interviewed her for almost 6-7 hours for total time, and just the information that she gave and the information that she provided, not only for this case but just kind of in general, and how she's trained and how she trains others. I mean, God, it was just amazing. Like I almost want to get into this field.
And she went all that time without slamming a Red Bull. It's impressive.
Well, she may have had one off camera. No.
Okay, yeah. When the cameras weren't rolling.
Slam that Red Bull.
What's been going on in your life? Before we even get into the meat of this week's sandwich, let's get a little personal here. What's going on in your life?
So are you trying to say I'm the buns?
You are the buns.
Well, not a lot, man. It's just, I will say that, and everybody I'm sure knows and assumes this, but, producing a podcast like this is a lot of work. And I don't even consider it work because it's what I love doing. Like, I'm really developing a passion for this. But it is a lot of stuff that you got to do. So pretty much my life right now just revolves around getting the podcast done, going to work. I'm even sometimes, don't tell my work this, but I'm sitting there, like editing and listening to stuff while I'm waiting for a phone call to come in.
Oh, man. When I worked for this place early on in my writing career, and anyone that has been following me from the beginning will know exactly where I'm talking about. I used to sit at my desk and write entire chapters of novels. I completed 2 of my early novels, which are no longer available, but 2 of my early novels I actually completed on the clock at this place.
Oh, wow. Well,
so people are like, you ever get paid as a writer? Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's so that's pretty much it, man. It's just getting this podcast going, working. That's about it. Once, it'll be nice when the season is over for a couple reasons. Number one, we'll start work on the second season, and we'll be looking into other cases and stuff. But the other thing is, everything will be out there, because one of the things that we did that everybody asked me when we got to when we did the documentary, the rough cut premieres, everybody asked me all kinds of questions that I can tell you every single question that anybody asked me is answered in this podcast. So anybody that has any questions going forward, all I have to say is go listen to the entire first season of the American Justice Podcast, and your question will be answered.
Absolutely. Did you like that?
That's what we're here for, right? I mean, nobody wants to come and just listen to us talk. They want the information,
right? Now, I don't care if your question is a little risque or not. I will totally read it, and we will totally answer it.
And if it's good enough, he'll make you some Chad's badass chicken.
On it, baby.
I like it. That's good.
I actually had, and this is a little personal. Actually had a little run-in with the whole COVID-19 process this week. Scenario. Wife went and took a test, and I, just to kind of cover all bases, went ahead and took one as well. I was curious.
Well, I know that. So, if I'm not mistaken, she has celiac disease.
She has celiac,
right?
Yes.
And some of the stuff that she was presenting with was kind of related to that, but there was also some other things that you were kind of not sure
but
of.
But you can never know. And with the way things are right now, if you tell your day job, oh, I'm running a fever, they're not gonna go, oh, okay, well, that's your celiac. They're gonna be like, no, there's a possibility that this could be COVID-19, and you should probably go get tested. So we did the test thing. And the crazy thing about this is everything I've seen up to this point, it is somebody else sticking a giant cotton swab up your nose, probing your brain for your thoughts. And I don't know if it was just this place or if it's all like this now. They hand you the cotton swab and they watch you do it to yourself.
So they're masochists and not
yes,
sadists.
Yes. They're like, go on. Licking their lips as they're watching you probe your own brain.
They're like, deeper.
It takes, I mean, you just really want to know the answer. Do I have this or do I not? Because I stuck it up. I mean, you go up one nostril, swish it around, hold it for 10 seconds, and then up another, swish it around, hold it for 10 seconds. And I'm not talking to where it gets uncomfortable. I'm talking to the point where it hurts, and you're doing it to yourself.
Well,
so, I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, we were both negative, but
right.
Oh man, wear a mask, people. Wear a mask and don't go into large groups. You do not want to do this to yourself because it's like you said, they're the doctors, the nurses, everybody else. They're not getting off on doing it to you anymore. They're getting off on you doing it to yourself.
Plus, I mean, you're there for a COVID test, so they don't want to touch you.
Right. It's kind of almost like a voyeuristic thing, I guess. Right. I don't know, but she was smiling when I did it. So
it's like, here, take this, go in this other room where we have a camera and we can record this.
Yeah. Oh, and when you're done, put that up her nose. And then come back over here and put it up my nose.
Oh, God. Anyways.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. So we have a special guest this week.
We do. We do have a special guest.
And we are special enough to have her cell phone number.
That's right.
All right. Should we call her up?
We should.
All right. Let's do it.
And remind me to take this number when I leave here and keep it in my phone.
I'll sell it to you for $2.15.
Hello.
Hi. Is this Susan?
It is.
Hey, Susan.
Oh, wow. Susan Constantine, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
We're, all things considered, in the great state of Texas, we're okay.
Go boys, Texas.
We're hanging in. Oh, yeah. Cowboys and Rangers and Stars and stuff. Yes.
I love it.
Well, this is Scott and Chad, as you know, from the American Justice Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time for us to answer some questions for our listeners and viewers. And
sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it because I think a lot of the stuff that we would cover kind of in the beginning introduction is actually part of our questions. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So our first question is going to be from Debbie in Plano. And if you'll bear with us just a second, Susan, we have a little jingle that we play for Debbie every time that she calls in. All right, here we go.
Debbie from Plano, she writes in every week. She believes in Brandon's innocence, it's justice that she seeks. We'd love to hear her thoughts, her wrath we won't incur. We need more listeners just like her.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Anyways, sorry about that, but we have to play it every time that she calls in now. All right, so
she loves calling a lot.
She does every week. Although she missed last week, so I'm kind of upset. All right, so let's play her question for you. Here we go.
Hi guys, it's Debbie from Plano here. Very interesting episode. I was just wondering if Susan has ever been an integral part of getting someone innocent off the hook. Thanks.
Wow, have you ever been part of getting someone innocent off the hook?
In murder cases, yes. As a trial consultant, I'm often used during the trial, strategy. So yes, there has been cases that I've worked on where our client was found not guilty, but never in a innocence project. This is the first innocence project that I've been involved with.
Awesome. So the first kind of post-conviction relief is what everybody's
Correct.
Seeking. Okay, well, we're honored to be the first. That's awesome. We appreciate that. Maybe if we can get Brandon out of prison, this is something you can go on and do a little more.
There you go. There you go.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. Let's see. What is our second question here? We have a question from a girl named Christy.
Yes.
And she did not put where she is from. Usually, Susan, we like to announce who is asking the question and where they're from. but Christy did not put where she's from. So we're just going to say that she's from parts unknown.
Which could be anywhere in Texas.
Right.
All right, Susan, let's see here. Christy asked, so I was just wondering how much of your analysis involves what the person is saying as opposed to their physical body language. For example, Mike will look like he was squirming all over the place, but also several times just the words that he said didn't make sense, let alone his body language. So how much are you looking at the physical movements, agreeing with the words spoken?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, Christy. And they work together. They build upon one another. So the body language is just as important as the words that are spoken, and they actually build off of each other. And what I mean by that is generally speaking, that when you see deception in someone's behavior, you will also find it in their language. So what I do here at my company is we analyze 3 different things. So, for example, if we have a videotape of a possible subject in a case that we are wondering if they know more than what they're saying, I break it up into 3 different, what I call a 3-pronged test. I do the behavioral analysis, and I have 2 of my other experts independently, one that does voice stress analysis with a CSV3 voice analysis machine, and I also have someone that specializes in statement analysis. And independent of one another, we do our own analysis. And then brought together, when we're completed, you will find that when a person is being deceptive, especially when you're really great at what you do, you've got a very strong skill level, you will find that all of that will marry together. For example, when I saw someone squirming around, well, this is what they said. And then also it shows up on their vocal tremors. So they all work together, synergistically. For example, I have a case tomorrow morning. One we're doing just that, and this happens to be on a missing persons case. Someone that a mother was concerned about her son who came up missing and had concerns that maybe the wife had something to do with it. So my team, we carefully analyze those 3 different components, and we will be providing the reports to her, to the family tomorrow morning. So they all work together. There's not one percentage over the other. They work all equally. They increase the level of validity much higher than even just behavioral analysis, and even words that someone says, which is highly important, that's still subjective analysis. Voice stress analysis is more objective. It's done with a machine, so it's done on micro tremors. So you can see where one person, especially when you have some biases or your own preconceived ideas, or you think you're seeing something, it's always good to do the 3-pronged test.
Yeah, and I can, just like with Mike in specific, there, when I was watching the video just as a layperson, there were several times where I was just like, okay, what he's saying doesn't make sense. And then there were other times where it's like, man, his body language is just all over the place. And then it's interesting that when you can kind of put them all together and say, okay, this is, scientifically, this is what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to share with Christy and with some of your other listeners is that every word that a person says has meaning. So, we don't blow off any words, because it comes from the subconscious mind. That person chose to say that word or that phrase or that illustration out of their own subconscious mind. So what we're doing too is analyzing how they process information. So it goes a little bit deeper, because you're trying to understand psychologically why a person would say what they said, and then listening to every word that they say and then dissecting it. Because there is a study of scientific linguistic statement analysis, which is they've used in law enforcement for a long time. And the study of that is just absolutely fascinating. I've been trained it. I've taken 4 certification courses in it, and I will tell you, I still haven't perfected it. You know, it is extremely tedious, and you have to really understand. There's so many components to it that it's hard to explain just in a quick little phone call like this. I know enough to be scary. I mean, if somebody says something to me, I can pick it up pretty quick. But a statement analysis is a separate study, just like behavioral analysis. It's almost like someone that a surgeon. One will do heart surgery and another one does brain surgery, and they shouldn't be dabbling in both. You should really stay in your lane.
That's a good point. All right. Well, we have another question. This one's from Jennifer from Frisco, Texas.
Jennifer from Frisco. She asked, at what point in your life did you decide you wanted to be a body language expert, and what drew you to the field?
Well, that's a really interesting question because it really started to develop out of my own interest and also need. As a trial consultant, I was working for a company called JuryQuest. It was the first AI solution to profile a juror in the courtroom from juror questionnaires. And I was the Florida area manager for JuryQuest, and there was one category in the program that was called subjective, meaning that I could change the scoring process or manipulate it just based on behavioral analysis or what I hear them saying, which was different from the demographic factor. So we found that people, let's just say, I'm going to give you an example, that age, ethnicity, occupation, level of education, how many children they've had, if they've served on a jury or not, all of those are given a number. And the algorithm from this program was able to sift out that when you collectively put certain demographics together, they tend to be more pro-prosecution or more pro-defense. So that was great. So we had a good idea, but the subjective category was really important, and they had no way of filling it in because they didn't know how to actually do it. So that's what got me on the journey and said I need to do some research. And I went down to the local Orlando library, and I worked with a librarian. I said, I want you to pull anything and everything on research that has to do with reading people, body language, the words they say, their voice, all the different channels of communication. And she pulled them all up for me, and I started reading through them, and I found that the references of the ones that were citing in these articles, there were similar names they were using a lot, and like Dr. Ekman, Dr. Matsumoto, J.J. Newberry, lots of experts in their field in detecting deception. And I reached out to them and said, I'm going to find out if they offer training. And that's how I began my journey. And then I just fell in love with it. I thought, wow, this is intriguing. And so I switched from doing the scientific analysis in the courtroom to doing behavioral analysis, which I felt was much more in the moment and much more accurate. And I loved it. So that's how I started my career.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, that's all. And I think I even said in the episode that I was, finding it difficult to stay in interviewer mode instead of kind of admiring student mode. It's very, very interesting. All right. Well, we'll do one more question before we get to our break here. And this one comes from John from Dallas.
John from Dallas asks, who was the very first subject you ever studied?
Well, I think the one that really stands out the most is Casey Anthony. That one I just found to be incredibly intriguing. You know, I sat through that trial from the beginning to the end. It was here in Orlando. And so I had media credentials. I was able to observe every hearing, every day, every expert, all of the players, witnesses, cases or parents, you name it. Some very famous Dr. G was there, and there's some really famous people that were testifying. I just thought it was just fascinating. So that was the one that probably surprised me the most, because, what a lot of people don't realize is that what you see happening in the courtroom, what you see on TV are two different things. There's a Casey Anthony that was on the camera, and there was a Casey Anthony that was off the camera. There was a Cindy and George Anthony that were on the camera, and there were George and Cindy Anthony that were off the camera. So they were just different personalities, depending on what it is that they wanted the viewers to see. And then also, too, because I believe in from everything that I've seen and heard and being there, that Casey Anthony, not only did she murder her daughter, that she premeditated it. Now, I know that she was found innocent, so that was probably the most shocking one, I believe, based on the evidence that was presented before me, and the manner of death of the child, and the fact that she was such a negligent parent. And there were so many twists and turns, and it was like something, for a blockbuster movie. I was just riveted by that trial.
Well, I actually took an interest in that case as well, and I actually read Jose Baez's book, and he disagrees with you.
No kidding.
And it's ironic that you went into that exact case, because the next question, which comes from Mercedes in Irving, Texas, asked, who is the one case that sticks out in your mind that showed ultimate guilt or innocence, but the court ruled in the opposite direction?
Well, yeah, I guess let's. So that covers Casey. Let's ask the other way then. Is there anyone that you felt like was completely innocent that they actually found guilty?
I'm going to share with one with you that's going to shock you if you've ever followed this case. It was a Daria Dippolitio case. That one. I got to know Dalia a lot. I was the trial consultant. I wasn't a trial consultant. I did do trial consulting, and I prepared her for trial. But in addition to that, I was called as to be an expert witness in that case regarding Dalia Dippolitio's demeanor. I was not called to testify because I was only going to be used as a rebuttal witness. But that case was on the Cop TV show, and I think it was just a big setup. She, knowing Dalia and having some deep conversation with her, and how she described, she was, well, let's back up a little bit. She was accused of a hit for hire case, and you may remember this very attractive, sexy brunette. Where the cops had staged that her husband was murdered. And she was called, and the cops were there at the house, said, you need to come home. And then he reveals to her that your husband has been murdered, and then she starts to cry. But it's all a big fake out. He's not dead. There was an undercover cop that allegedly that she was to hire to put the hit on her husband.
I think I remember seeing this.
She made a comment in the police or in the car, not with the police officer. He was a undercover police officer, but she didn't know it. And she had made a comment that said that she wanted her husband. I guess the guy asked her, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she said, 5,000% sure. Well, when she did that, she shook her head no. And she also used the bolstering word, 5,000%.
Yeah.
Now, most people say that she was really confident that she wanted to do that. But see, the ambiguity is she shook her head no, and she had to bolster the words, 5,000%. So she, in my personal opinion, she was trying to convince herself that she was able to go through with it. So the investigator, in my personal and professional opinion, coaxed her into it, kind of pushed her into it, and she's really a very timid individual and easily manipulated. So I think that that would be, if you want to work on one, I would suggest you go for Daria Dippolitio. And that she was on 2020 not too long ago. They did a special show on that case. So I think that, when you're looking at body language and what people say, that sometimes people say things that they don't actually mean. Like they don't even believe their own words that are speaking from their mouth. And that was this case.
Yeah.
That was Daria Dippolitio case.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll have we'll put some information on our link for everybody to take a look at that.
Exactly.
Interesting case. Susan doesn't think that she did it, or she wanted to.
I have no choice but to believe her.
That's right. we take a stance here at the American Justice Podcast. We believe everything Susan says 100%.
Exactly. That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, I think.
Yes, let's take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor. We will come right back with Susan Constantine.
I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. Did you know it's illegal for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs in Arizona? Also, to the guy who invented Zero, thanks for nothing. These are just a few examples of some of the great mugs you can get at goodmonkeymugs.com. With same-day shipping on all orders placed before 3 p.m., your new mug will be at your doorstep in no time. Don't know what to give that coworker for their birthday? Or just want to brighten someone's day with a funny or inspirational quote? GoodMonkeyMugs.com is the place for you. And if you use the code AJARMY, your first mug is half price. Again, that's GoodMonkeyMugs.com. You'll go ape for our mugs.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the American Justice Podcast. We are here with body language expert Susan Constantine.
Yes.
Oh, man, it's such an honor to have her on the show. I mean, it was a great episode. I remember reading her transcripts like a couple of years ago, actually, back when I was working on an expose for the Brandon Woodruff case.
Right.
And just amazing. And then what little bit I've seen of her in the documentary film, and just the episode yesterday, I was glued to it. I co-write this show, and I was glued to the episode. So it's good stuff. We have 2 more questions, I believe.
Yes, we have 2 more questions. Let's do Sean from Fort Worth. How does that sound? We've got another voicemail question. By the way, I just want to say that I'm so happy, and you'll be happy to hear this, Susan. We had more interaction and more questions than we've had with any other episode. And we had to boil it down to these questions because obviously we don't want to keep you here all night, and we could do a 6-hour Q&A if we really wanted to. But yeah, it was one of our most interactive episodes so far.
That's awesome. That
Yes.
makes me feel good.
How about we take a question from Sean from Fort Worth? Let's see if we can hear what he has to say. Just 1 second.
Hey guys, this is Sean calling from Fort Worth, Texas. Longtime listener. Think you guys are doing an amazing job with this. I did have a question around Charla's interview. During her interview, she had talked about either the KKK or was mentioning homegirl several times throughout that. Those seem like very specific mentions. Do you think that she was actually thinking of a specific person when she was making those references, or was she just possibly saying anything in general? Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Again, appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. Keep it up. Thanks.
You know, that's a really good question, Susan, because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with your body language and your words agreeing. But he's asking more of a kind of specific question. Like she's mentioning the KKK and home dude and home girl and all that. Do you think that she's like kind of just throwing out BS and trying to buy time as to what she's trying to say? Or do you think she actually has somebody like, you know, she's thinking in her mind, you know, Bill Johnson, but she's really trying to conceal Bill Johnson's name. So she says like home dude. Is that kind of what's going on? Or do you think it's more of just kind of like she's just trying to throw out some BS to buy some time there?
Well, there's a couple of things that I'm seeing in that, and if I would have seen the transcript, imagine it's like it's like you're trying to figure out the puzzle. Okay, so when you're thinking of a person, like I'm thinking, okay, I'm talking to Scott, and then I go he, and then I go we. Okay, so let's just say if I'm just using 3 different ways to describe the same person and my connection with them, we can draw those parallels. We can draw those that links them to each other and say, does that make sense? Why did I change my vocabulary? Like the difference between saying difference between a weapon was pulled and a gun was pulled and then I was robbed. Okay. So there is different levels of threat by describing a gun versus a weapon and then being robbed. So it says, okay, when was the gun pulled out? Then it became a weapon when it came up out of the holster, and then when you pointed the gun, you robbed me. So there's three different actions. So I'm bringing you there is because you have to look at the parallels, the connections between the homegirl or homeboy and the KKK. Was there a name that was brought up before that? And then that we could link that to, is that the homegirl? Is that the KKK? And then see if there's any connection to that. That's one thing that we do in statement analysis. The second thing is that you would look at is they're completely different groups, right? So, the KKK is a radical group, usually targeted to African Americans and other groups, but primarily we know them as African Americans. And the individuals that were murdered were white, so we didn't remove that one, right? So
right.
Then you've got homegirl or homeboy. That kind of has a kind of relaxed, more of a southern kind of laid back kind of. They're two different, radically different. So then you go, okay, why are they pulling out these radical different? Could they be two different people, described two different ways? Could it be more than one person? Or could it be that she is, just pulling things out of a hat and she's just seeing what's sticking? But keep in mind, every single word that she uses is important. So we never just take it away. You just don't, because it comes from the subconscious thought. So when you look at the comments, what I like to do is I take what somebody says, and then I transcribe it into the words like a transcript, and then we analyze that. We say, where are the connections? Where are the parallels? So without knowing the context and the whole conversation where we could draw parallels between homegirl and the KKK, right now all we know is there's the KKK and the homegirl without any other information. So that's my answer. We don't know enough to make any assumptions.
Yeah, there's and obviously, she's just all over the place, so it's hard to it's hard to really narrow down. Even, she'll go from one subject to the next subject to the next subject, all within like 5 seconds of each other. So it's hard to
right. And I think that that's a very good point too, because I remember when I was watching her and her arms were flailing all over the place. Let's not rule out that there could be some sort of psychological impairment. There might be some underlying psychological condition why a person would become so erratic and her thoughts would race from one end to another. I'm not diagnosing, I'm not a clinical psychologist, I'm a leadership coach in psychology. But when I see that, and things that are just kind of coming from left to right to our darts everywhere, that kind of goes into, where's their psychoses?
Right.
What's going on?
Well,
So again, it's really interesting when you're analyzing, because you can really determine, this person, are they paranoid? Do they have a paranoid issue?
Mm-hmm.
Is she pulling it from a movie? Is it, where's this coming from? But I guarantee you pulled an entire statement. You take the vocal language and you transcribe it into text and be analyzed. You'd be surprised at how much wealth of information you can really pull from that.
Yeah.
And it would make more sense why she used those different terms.
Well, let's not also forget she's a criminal justice major.
Oh yeah, we can't forget that. That seemed to mean something to the investigators. She was in the middle of taking her college courses for a criminal justice degree, and the lead investigator said, "Let's not forget, she is a criminal justice major."
Yeah, he was. It was a kind of a funny aside that we made fun of in the episode. But all right,
that doesn't make that she knows anything more than anybody else. I mean,
right.
We've seen this again, a police officer or someone that knows the law, lawyer, and you put them under investigation, and they're not any better of a witness than anybody else.
Right. Yeah. And that was kind of one of the points that we were making. Is like, why is Ranger Collin's like giving more credence to her because she's, a second-year undergraduate.
Do you think he can win the Daytona 500? Let's not forget, he is a pizza delivery guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man!
All right, we have one last question for you, Susan. And this one actually is a little bit personal. Feel free to say I don't want to answer this question, but this comes from Ronald from Bend, Oregon, and he asks, have you ever found a way to turn it off, or do you constantly look for deception while you're watching TV, whether it be politics, news anchors, or reality television?
Or your kids.
Or your kids.
Or your relatives.
I have to, Donald, thank you so much, because usually the question I get when they say it's personal, they usually say, how is it that anybody could ever date you? Or they
Aww.
usually that's usually what I get when I'm teaching a class and I have to raise their hand going, hey, I would be scared to death to date you. Well, I am married to a lovely husband. But anyway, my husband will tell you, just don't lie to her, and then you're just fine.
You're good. You're good to go. That's a good policy, I think, in general, isn't it?
Yes. So to answer that question, Donald, you never turn it off. It's like a dentist can't look at someone and say, oh, my goodness, I need their teeth fixed or something. You just know what to hone in on. But keep in mind that the work that I do are high-stakes cases. So everybody lies, everybody stretches, everybody bolsters, everybody fabricates. That's not a big deal to me. But if I'm going to invest money, or if I'm going to go into business with somebody, or I'm going to make a really important decision, investment decision, then I'm going to hone in all my skills, and I'm going to just start asking questions in different ways and using thought-provoking questions and behavior-provoking questions, so that I can get it. I'm pretty clever at that, so it's not like they know what's coming. So for the most part, the best thing to do is just not do anything. And that's really what I generally do. I don't usually do anything. I just listen and just kind of prompt people just to keep talking and just keep talking, because the more they talk, the more they reveal themselves. So the answer to your question is no, you never turn it off. But one thing that you have to be very super careful of is not letting it control your life. So I've seen people in my industry where they're, especially detectives, where they're always constantly examining and finding fault and so forth and just taking everything they say and do and are suspect. I really come from the opposite way. I'm assuming everyone is truthful until they've proven me otherwise. And so and the other thing is, what are they lying about, and really doesn't matter. So that's kind of like where I come from. Someone else in the field might feel differently, but I think that it's a very sad type of life to be very cynical. So, I just really spend my time more trying to catch the bad guys or bad girls.
Okay.
There you go.
Or the homeboy, or the KKK.
Right. or the home dude or home girl. Yeah, the KKK. But I mean, sometimes you kind of want people to lie to you, right? Like when I ask somebody if I'm a good singer, like I want them to lie to me and tell me yes.
Well, that's what we call those polite lies. There really is. And, it's really interesting because I'm writing a book on it. And I even found in the scriptures where it was okay to lie at one point in time. It actually is very good. So there are times where it's okay to lie. For example, if you ever remember, the teenage girl has a father who was a judge. And this guy was a wacko tobacco, and he was just beating the tar out of his daughter right and left. And finally, the daughter put a webcam up in her bedroom because she felt that nobody would ever believe her. Mm-hmm. So she had to get it on tape. So she got it on her webcam and busted her father and then turned it in. So people lie for different reasons. They lie because they want a thrill. They lie just because they want to get attention. Other people lie because they want to protect themselves. They want to protect other people from harm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just polite to say, hey, that dress looks good on you. And you're going, oh, my goodness, don't ever wear that again. But you do that you just do that because that's actually showing that you're being sensitive to someone. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what it would be like if everyone, it's like that movie Liar, Liar, that every single thing you thought was coming out, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I mean, this would be pretty sort of sad. So I think that it's important to know that it's okay to lie or to stretch the story or whatever it is. If you're doing that intentionally to protect somebody, to protect them from being embarrassed or to be hurt or to be wounded, I mean, there are times where it is okay.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Susan, that's.
Hey, listen, I think that if there's any females out there and men start listening, and that is that we never tell you the truth of what we pay for anything. Okay, so it's we always start at half off, or we got it on sale.
You know, one thing I just realized, if you have a few more seconds, I apologize, but nobody asked any question. You know, I say in the episode that we're really here, the number one thing that we want to know, whether, you know, Charla's lying, okay, yeah, Mike's lying, whatever, but we want to know what you thought of Brandon and his, you know, kind of his demeanor in the interview. I point out that there really wasn't a lot to say in the episode other than just, you know, hey, Susan thinks he's telling the truth. Was there anything that, and I know it's been a while, but is there anything that you can kind of remember about Brandon's kind of demeanor, body language, etc., that you just kind of thought to yourself, like, you know, what is going on here? Why are these guys even, you know, interrogating him? Like, what any general impressions, I guess, from Brandon's interview?
You know, I watched that over and over again, and I also saw other videos too that I was able to try to get his baseline. You know, in his demeanor, he's more controlled. That would give someone a pause. You could look at two different ways. One is that it's been so long since it happened and he's finally dealt with it. The other part of it is that, you know, why is he so calm? Did he have such an extreme hatred for his parents that he was capable of doing such a heinous thing? And then you look at, you know, what is the motive? What's the intent? And what would he hope to gain by it? And then you have his lifestyle and all of that, and his parents weren't happy with it. But yet, what really caught me, I wouldn't say it caught me off guard, but one thing that I was very interested in is how he actually talked about his mom and dad. And he talked about his mom and dad in almost in present tense. And even though it was past tense when they passed away, you could see that he was bringing the memory of them forward. And when he spoke about them, he never spoke about them in distancing language like them or he or she. It was always my mom. It was always more endearing words. And usually when a person has committed such a heinous crime out of just absolute hatred, they use distancing words. They may even use their parents' first names. They would refer to them as, monsters or something, something that is horrible. But you didn't see that in Brandon. So, when I looked at all of it and I had to come to a conclusion, my own personal conclusion, is that there wasn't enough significant evidence to determine that he was, in my mind, guilty based on behavioral evidence.
And also, I think that, and the other thing that's kind of interesting about it is that, everything that Brandon said in that interview, every single thing, with the exception of one thing, has been proven through, other means. But there was the one point, the whole thing that I personally believe got him convicted was that he was off on the times that he said that he was at the Heath house before he went to the club. And, even though he said to the investigators, I'm not sure, I don't remember what time I went there, and Ranger Collins came back and said, well, you would have left the Roy City house at 7:30. You would have gotten over to the Heath house at 8. That means, how long did you spend there at the Heath house? And Brandon was like, well, it was probably about 30 minutes. All I had to do was feed the animals and, take care of things there at the house. And then I went to the club, and Ranger Collins is like, okay, so you left at 8:30 and went to the went to the club, went to Denny's, went to the club, and Brandon was just kind of like, okay, sure, yeah, I guess. And it came back to that they found out that he actually didn't leave the house until about 10:30 or something like that. And so they immediately, that was the whole thing that got him convicted, was that he was an hour and a half off or 2 hours off on the time that he left, even though he told him he wasn't sure. So I always thought it was very interesting that, everything that he said, he went to the club, he went back to Alex's house, then he went to school, he had dinner with his parents, there was pizza found in the, all this stuff, everything that he said, 100% was completely verified, except for this one thing about what time he was, a week ago, what time he went to the club. And so that's one thing that I kind of took away from it was, I can't believe that, it's not like, okay, well, half of what Brandon said wasn't true. It was like every single thing that he said was true, except for this one time that he was off. And that's what I thought was interesting. Sorry, I had to go off on a little rant there, but.
And keep in mind, with a trial, the verdict is only as good as the jury pool. So if you were to pull in a different group of jurors, and it, you may have got a different outcome. So we find that all the time. It just depends on like in the Casey Anthony trial, when all the facts were there. They all, I'll tell you what they were the type of jurors that would be great for a case like this, because every time she lied and got wrong about it, they go, oh, she's such a liar anyway. So what's new? So they actually use the fact that she was a liar as being like no big deal. She lied all the time. So you see what I'm saying? So it really depends on how that attorney spins it.
Yeah.
How they're presenting it.
I've always said that if he was tried in Dallas, or a bigger city instead of out in Hunt County, he definitely would have been acquitted for sure.
Yeah, if you could pick his jury in the year 2020.
Texas, correct?
Yes.
Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, very small town Texas.
Right, and they've got an expressway right to the gas chamber. That's just, they don't even pass go. They go right there.
Susan, thank you so much for doing this. We really
this has been awesome.
You.
Yeah.
And,
okay. All right, guys. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Susan Constantine, ladies and gentlemen.
How freaking cool was that?
That was amazing.
Like,
so much good information.
There might be some people that don't know how big of a deal she is. But if you're in, if
they
you're
didn't listen to the episode then.
Yeah, if you're into true crime, or when there's high profile cases on television like Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, she especially she was involved with the Casey Anthony case. She's been involved with the Michael Jackson wrongful death case.
Conrad Murray. Yeah.
Conrad Murray. So was it George Zimmerman too?
Yeah, Zimmerman case. Yeah.
So many cases she has been involved with over the years, and she's appeared on these news shows and explained her craft. And we just spent 45 minutes talking to her.
Over 1,000 TV appearances. That if you don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to, it's going to get around the media circle. They're not going to ask you to come back. So the fact that she was on over 1,000 times, that just absolutely shows that she is on her game and she knows what she's talking about.
Right. And she has some very strong opinions about this case. And that's just, to have her on our side is amazing.
Well, and also remember, as we said in the episode, she's a disinterested party. It's not like she just, it's not like we hired her to be Brandon's advocate. As I said in the episode, I sent all 4 of these interviews to her, and I said, hey, my name's Scott. I know you don't know me, but I have some videos that I need you to analyze the body language, because I found out, found her through through all her appearances and stuff. And she was like, okay. And she even asked me, she's like, well, what's the case? And I said, well, I don't want to tell you what the case is because I don't want you to research it. I want you to give us a 100% non-biased opinion. And I don't mean to go over it again, but, as I said in the episode, she looked at everything, and, if we were trying to say that Mike was the one arrested and was innocent, she was not going to have it.
No, not at all. Not at all. But no, amazing
And
woman,
I think that's
very
something
talented.
that, you know, she, for her to say that if you're on this guy's side, I'm going to not only refund your money, but pretend like I don't know you. I'm going to walk away from this. Like, you know, I mean, that's kind of a big,
definitely.
You know, stance there.
Definitely.
So,
Man, that's just, how are we going to top this one?
I don't know. Maybe we should have saved this for the
very last episode.
I don't know.
I don't think we're going to be able to top it, honestly.
Well, I think, you know, I think it was important to do, though, because Mike's and Charla's and Brandon's interviews are all kind of fresh on everybody's mind. So now that we've dealt with that, now we can move on to the rest of the investigation, kind of lead down that path of how Brandon got convicted. At this point, everybody knows, obviously, that he was convicted, but they don't really know. You know, it's like, okay, we've got all this base information. We've got the building blocks to start from, but now we need to go and find out what happened that caused this innocent guy to get convicted. What was it that just went wrong? And we're going to talk about all of that stuff. We're going to talk about next week Joe Hagerman and Dustin Perry, talk about their interview. And I got to tell you, if you heard the teaser on this episode, the person that came forward that knows Joe, they have some explosive things to say. So you're not going to want to miss that. But then we go on to talk about just the investigation, like what. Okay, we've talked to, you know, I think we're what I say, 50% of the way through the investigative report just from these interviews. And so we'll talk about, you know, what else did Ranger Collin do? Did he follow up on any credit card charges? Did he find, you know, was there any quote unquote real investigator stuff that he did? So we'll talk about that, and then we'll get into the two subjects that I'm really excited to get into are the knife that was found.
Right. Yeah, the knife.
The knife and the Sixth Amendment violation.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, those things are, I'm really excited to talk about those. And then we'll spend a couple episodes on the trial, and then we'll talk about the appeals and stuff. We'll be pretty much done.
Recently discovered that I guess it was the assistant district attorney at the time.
ADA, yeah.
The ADA, during that Sixth Amendment violation, actually follows me on Instagram.
Oh, no. Well, it was nice knowing you, Chad.
I don't follow her, but she follows me.
It's been nice being your friend and all.
In her defense, we're from the same small town. I just don't live there anymore, but...
I wonder if she realizes it. I wonder if it was just one of those things where a long time ago you guys kind of followed each other. And,
oh, yeah, she knows. You know, she knows exactly who I am. I mean, she knows exactly who I am because she's a judge now, and she presided over my divorce.
But do you think that she knows that you're involved with this podcast, and she's like,
I am pretty certain by now.
I don't know. I've sent an interview request to her, and she hasn't responded. So I wonder why she's not talking.
Because she wants to hear all the way to the last episode and see how it ends.
She wants to see how it turns out.
She's like, ooh, did I do that or not? Let's listen further.
Anyways, yeah, she did that.
She did it. She did it.
And we're going to talk all about it. And we've got some good video footage that people will not want to miss as well.
Heck yeah, man. That's epic.
It's one of the reasons I'm glad we do this on the YouTube channel as well. So you can see, I don't have to sit there and describe what happened. I can be like, hey, check this out.
Right. Yeah. If you listen to the podcast, we love you. But if you watch the YouTube channel as well, you're hearing the same thing, but you're actually seeing the videos and interviews and things like that. So check us out on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.
That's right.
We got a lot of subscribers.
We're building those subscribers.
They're getting bigger.
So I thought you were going to say, if you listen to us, we love you. But if you watch us on YouTube, we want to marry you.
No.
Oh.
We do not. We do not want to marry you.
I wonder how many of our listeners we could marry.
We will give you a very socially distanced pat on the back.
Yes.
Yes. Air pat.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week.
It does. It does. We will see you guys next week for the Dustin Perry and Joe Hagerman interviews. Yep.
So until then, I guess everybody should stay aware, stay strong,
and get involved.
Exactly. See you next week.